Hey guys, James here, and thank you for downloading the Ultimate Squat Guide. So what we're going to do today is cover basically the fundamentals of squatting, what it should look like, and building up into a warm-up and getting the movement done correctly. So the first thing that we look at is obviously the most critical, which is the technique. And what we're going to basically look at today is a couple of different forms and getting you into the perfect technique so that you can continue to add load and improve your squat performance. So the first thing is, what is a squat? Well, firstly, basically it's the ability to lower our body down into a position where we are effectively seated, right? And then stand back up. So there's a few things that we look at. Number one is from the side, we want to maintain a neutral spine. So as we come down, that's staying there. We're not folding forward or rolling into it. Our knees are out and we're able to basically break the hip to the knee at least. We can go lower if possible, but what I want to see is that that hip and that knee is in line, so we're not just coming down, one quarter of the way. So the first goal is to maintain and establish that. In order to do this, we need three key components. We need enough ankle flexibility, which means that without load, I need to be able to get my kneecap or the back of my kneecap over my big toe. So if I cannot have this range of motion and my ankle gets stuck, then I need to release tension through the calf or ankle in order to increase that range of motion so that I can actually get to depth. Because if I go to squat and my knees are stuck and I can only get to there, I'm not going to be able to get lower without folding forward and using my back in order to decrease my ability. From there, the second thing is we need enough hip mobility and adductor mobility in order to squat down with the knees traveling out, lining up over the big toe so that we can sit into it properly. If this is too tight and the hips are too jammed up and we are getting pulled or collapsing in, then we're not going to be able to achieve a squat because it's going to look like this and we're going to start to see that knee collapse inwards. The last thing is that I need enough upper back mobility in order to stay upright so that I'm not folding forwards into the squat because I'm too tight and I cannot maintain extension through the chest. So there's the three requirements. So what we're going to do is give you a warm up for each part of the body that's critical to get yourself into the proper squat position. Okay, so movement number one is our ankles, of course. So my favorite go-to drill is to sit up against the wall, keep the heel locked down and push that knee forward over the toes. If I can touch the wall, fantastic. I'm going to continue to move that ankle back until touching the wall is a challenge about there. And then I'm going to continue with 10 reps through that position. And as I do my 10, I'm going to start to see that it's easier and easier to get to the wall. So what that's going to do is mean that when we squat, I'm going to better able to get that knee forward, traveling through over the toes so that we can sit into a more upright position, keeping a stable torso. The second one that I like for most people is actually adductor release and float into a hip flexor. So basically we sit up on the ground, palms down, knee down, and I'm going to push those hips back, opening up through that adductor line. The key with this is to maintain a neutral spine so that I'm not looking like this and just rolling into it. So I'm going to keep that chest up, hips back, and push back, opening up through that adductor. I'm going to do about 10 reps. From there, once I've done my 10, I'm going to bring the foot forward, reach back, and then push the hips through and do 10 pulses opening up through the hip flexor. So we're going to release the tension through here, allowing us to sit better and deeper into the squat position. So far we've covered the ankles into the hips, and then the last thing is our thoracic. So to use a roller and sit down, take my upper back to the roller, and take my hands to my ears and slowly roll back over it, opening up through that spine. And I will keep my hips down at all times, pushing through in order to release the tension in the spine. So from there, relaxing back, coming up, relaxing back, and then just kind of rolling side to side. This will allow us, when we're sitting with the bar on our back, to sit into a much taller upright position without folding forward, while also taking tension off of the upper back, the shoulders and wrists from needing to hold the bar. So our first variation is a goblet squat. I use this for most people starting out. The recommendation is to get to a 30 kilo dumbbell for 8 to 10 reps comfortably before moving to the bar. We're going to take a look at it in a minute. But basically what we want to have is the knees to the inside of the elbow, and we're going to hold that dumbbell in tight to the chest. So as you'll see, we descend, we're going to push the hips back and the knees forward. The knees track through over the toe. And as we get into that bottom position, and my back is straight, the hips are below the knees, and my elbows are coming to the inside of the kneecap. Look, from the front, what you'll see is the knees actually track out over the toes, and I'm basically standing at a hip width stance, so my feet are stacked underneath my hips. So what we're going to do here is show you how to set up with the bar correctly. So first thing you want to do is grab it as tight as possible without causing any friction or tension through the shoulders, and you'll see I actually squeeze my elbows together and shove the bar into my back. From there, I generally will always warm up with the bar, pushing the knees out, descending with the hips, and starting back up again, and I'll basically do sort of 8 to 10 reps at that level. From there, we'll start to add up some load, and you'll see from the front here, same thing, hands are evenly centered. I wiggle myself into it, pulling the elbows in tight, looking straight ahead, knees go out, and coming down to that level. When I've got a bit of weight on the bar, what I like to do is pulse in the bottom and basically sit into that very bottom position, opening up through the adductors and the hips before starting my sort of warm-up sets of reps. So this is the same warm-up from the side, and what you're going to notice is that the exact same setup is done. I'm going to grab the bar as tight as possible, thumbs as close to the body as possible, and I'm going to squeeze the shoulder blades back, keeping the chest nice and high, so I'm actually creating a lot of tension through the upper back to get in under the bar. From there, I'm going to drop down until my hips are below my knee, and we're going to watch those knees travel forward over the toe, and if you watch as I drop, basically the butt's going back and the knees go forward at the same time. From here, we're going to look at the same squat done at the very end range. So here I've got a build up to 180, and what you're going to notice is even at 60, even at the bar, it's going to look exactly the same. So I continue to increase the weight, keep the technique as pristine as possible, squeezed in, chest up, looking straight ahead. You'll watch my head there, and then I drop down and everything's in line. You can see the back's flat, knees are over the toes, everything's perfect. Unfortunately, on this particular day, 180 got the better of me, and so you can see that when it comes to squatting, what you want to do is keep this exact same technique for your warm-up sets all the way through, and use those mobility drills at the start to get yourself into the position correctly. If I was unable to get into the correct position, then what's going to happen is I'm going to get injured along the way. If my knees are collapsing in, if my back's not straight, if my shoulders aren't tight enough, then I'm going to lose the tension, the technique, as the weights get heavier. So I implore you to build up the technique as best you can, and if you're finding that you're getting stuck, what you want to do is work on the part that's hindering by filming yourself and seeing where the technique's breaking down. Maybe you're not getting your hips low enough or whatever's happening, so that you can fix that particular portion of the squat for yourself.